Well, and I think too, to go back and to kind of use some of the more official terms. So Derek at the beginning was mentioning of, okay, withdrawing money during bad times. So technically, well, obviously you and I talk about it, but just so all of our listeners know, that's what's called sequence of return risk.
Yep.
Okay. Again,
it's an important thing to know.
Right. So sequence of returns, like think of it like, okay, what did I get this year versus next year versus the following year? Because you can't really control that. And we were talking about 2000, 2001. I mean, it was close to 2 to 3 years of the markets being down, 2 to 3 years. So before eventually the recovery begins. So if you plan on taking distributions soon or are currently taking them, withdrawing from a declining portfolio can slash its lifespan.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. So that's what we were saying earlier. Over a long period of time, a portfolio might average 5%. Or 10% or 7%, but you want if it's averaging 7% and I have $1 million and I've only pulled 5% out and it's average 7, how come I have less money?
Right.
Well, that's sequence of returns. If the returns are negative, especially early on in your retirement, like we mentioned earlier, during 2000 to 2002, that would have been a horrible year to retire. In terms of withdrawals. So you have to be careful because if you don't have your assets set up properly for distribution, remember, accumulation versus distribution, completely different phases of life. So it's important to make sure your IRA, if you have IRAs, if you have 401ks, even if you have non-IRAs, make sure the allocation's proper at this point. That's a little bit hedged against the market. That takes into account inflation and anything else that can affect the longevity of your portfolio.
Well, and the other thing I was going to add, just to the sequence of returns risk, before we talk about all the steps that people can take, one of the little math problems that really help emphasize that is because if you lose 10%, it's not 10, and then if you gain 10%, you're still not equal. Yes. I mean, you literally need to get 15% in order to make over to make it a 10%. Or think of this way: you have 100 grand, you lose 10%. Okay, now you're down to 90. But if you earn 10%, you're only back up to 99,000.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the whole idea: is the fact that whatever you lose, if you're not balancing for sequence of returns, risk, or planning for it, whatever you might lose in that given year, you're going to need more for it to recover while you're still making distributions or potentially making distributions, especially if you're in retirement. So that math, I think, is a great thing to keep in mind when you say, okay, hey, I can't afford to lose, let's say 10%, because now I need 12% to get back. That means you can take on excess risk. It's a spiral you don't want to be in.
Especially if you're pulling money out at the same time.
Exactly.